Hare Krishna to everyone. I'm very honored to be with all of you today. My name is Bhagavata-dharma Das. Um, I was instructed by my son's spiritual master, uh, Kadamba Kanana Maharaj, to, to go and preach. So I tried to preach in different places. I was twice in South Africa also. So I'm very honored and glad to also I can have a little presentation and Srimad-Bhagavatam class also with African devotees. So today we'll speak from the second chapter of Srimad-Bhagavatam entitled Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. Chapter 10, verses 37 to 40. So I will read the verses myself and also the translation of different words and translation of the verses and the purport of Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayet Nashta Preshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Seva Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtabhutale Shrimati Radhanath Swamiti Namine. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtabhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatadeshatarine. Hare Krishna. So, as I said, we are reading from the 10th chapter of second canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam, verses 37 to 40. Prajapatin manun devan rishin pitri ganan pritak sida charana gandharvan vidyadhrasara guhyakan hinarapsara sonagan sarpan kim purushan naran matri rakshah pishashamscha preta bhuta vinayakan kushmandan mada vitalan yatu danan grihanapi kagan mrigan pashun vrakshan गिरीन्द्रिपा सरीसृपान् विविधाश्चतुर्विधा ये जालस्थालानभौकशः कुशला मिश्रः कर्मणां गतयस्त्रिमः. Prajapatin, Brahma and his sons like Daksha and others. Manun, the periodical heads like Vaivasvata Manu. Devan like Indra, Chandra and Varuna. Rishin like Brigu and Vashishta. Pitriganan, the inhabitants of the Pitta planets. Pritak, separately. Siddha, the inhabitants of the Siddha planet. Charana, the inhabitants of the Charana planet. Gandharvan, the inhabitants of the Gandharva planets. Vidyadhara, the inhabitants of the Vidyadhara planet. Asura, the atheists. Guhyakan, the inhabitants of the Yaksha planet. Kinnara, the inhabitants of the Kinnara planet. Apsarasaha, the beautiful angels of the Apsara planet. Nagan, the serpentine inhabitants of Nagaloka. Sarpan, the inhabitants of Sarpaloka, snakes. Kimpurushan, the monkey-shaped inhabitants of the Kimpurusha planet. Naran, the inhabitants of earth. Matri, the inhabitants of Matriloka. Rakshaha, the inhabitants of the demoniac planet. Pishachan, the inhabitants of the Pishacha Loka. Cha, also. Preta, the inhabitants of the Preta Loka. Bhuta, the evil spirits. Vinayakan, the goblins. Kushmanda, will of the wisp. Unmada, lunatics. Vetalan, the jinn. Yatudanan, a particular type of evil spirit. Grahan, the good and evil stars. Api also. Kagan, the birds. Mrigan, the forest animals. Pashun, the household animals. Brikshan, the ghosts. Girin, the mountains. Nripa, O king. Sarisripan, reptiles. Dvividaha, the moving and the standing living entities. Chaturvidaha, living entities born from embryos, eggs, perspiration, and seeds. Ye, others. Anye, all. Jala, water. Stala, land. Naba okasaha, birds. Kushala, in happiness. Akushalaha, in distress. Mishraha, in mixed happiness and distress. Karmanam, according to one's own past deeds. Gatayaha, as a result of, as a result of. To, but. Imaha, all of them. The translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O King, know from me that all living entities are created by the Supreme Lord according to their past deeds. This includes Brahma and his sons like Daksha, the periodical heads like Vaivasvata Manu, the demigods like Indra, Chandra, and Varuna, the great sages like Bhrigu, Vyasa, and Vasishta, the inhabitants of Pitriloka and Siddhaloka, the Charanas, Gandharvas, Vidyadharas, Asuras, Yakshas, Kinnaras, and angels, the serpentines, the monkey-shaped Kimpurushas, the human beings, the inhabitants of Matriloka, the demons, Pishachas, ghosts, spirits, lunatics, and evil spirits, the good and evil stars, the goblins, the animals in the forest, the birds, the household animals, the reptiles, the mountains, the moving and standing living entities, the living entities born from embryos, from eggs, from perspiration, and from seeds, and all others, whether they be in the water, land, or sky, in happiness, in distress, or in mixed happiness and distress. All of them, according to their past deeds, are created by the Supreme Lord. Purport. The varieties of living entities are mentioned in this list, and with no exception from the topmost planet down to the lowest planet of the universe, all of them in different species of life are created by the Almighty Father Vishnu. Therefore, no one is independent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Bhagavad-Gita 14.4, the Lord therefore claims all living entities as his offspring in the following verse. Sarvayonishu kaunteya murtaya sambhavantiyaha tasam brahma mahadyonir aham bija pradapita. The material nature is compared to the mother. Although every living being is seen to come out of the mother's body, it is still a fact that the mother is not the ultimate cause of such a birth. The father is the ultimate cause of birth. Without the father's seed, no mother can give birth to a child. Therefore, the living beings in different varieties of forms and positions within the innumerable universes are all born of the seeds of the Almighty Father, the personality of Godhead, and only to the man with poor fund of knowledge do they appear to be born of the material nature. Being under the material energy of the Supreme Lord, all living entities, beginning from Brahma down to the insignificant ant, are manifested in different bodies according to their past deeds. The material nature is one of the energies of the Lord, Bhagavad Gita 7.4. The material nature is inferior in comparison to the living entities, the superior nature. The superior nature and the inferior nature of the Lord combine to manifest all universal affairs. Some of the living entities are relatively happy in better conditions of life, whereas others are in distressed conditions of life. But factually, no one none of them are actually happy in material conditional life. No one can be happy in prison life, although one may be a first-class prisoner and another a third-class prisoner. The intelligent person should not try to be promoted from third-class prison life to first-class prison life, but should try to be released from the prison altogether. One may be promoted to first-class prisoner, but the same first-class prisoner is again degraded to a third-class prisoner in the next term. One should try to be free from prison life and go back home, back to Godhead. That is the real goal of all types of living entities. So, Hare Krishna. It's very interesting verses. In fact, in the beginning of this chapter, Shukadeva Goswami explains the topics of Srimad-Bhagavatam. And he says, Atra sargo visargascha stanam poshanuta manvantare shanukata nirodha muktir ashaya. And then he explains that all these 10 topics of Srimad-Bhagavatam in fact, the first 9 topics are support of the 10th, which is ashraya. Yes. And ashraya, of course, is explained specifically in 10th canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam about the Lord Krishna and his in his pastimes in Vrindavan, in Mathura and Dwaraka. So we can see, and after this, in this same chapter, Shukadeva Goswami explains incarnation, the process of creation, and here we can see how he created also these different types of living entities. So from this we can see that the living spirit or the soul is completely free to accept any kind of body. So according to our meditation, according to our work, and karma, here is mentioned, our past deeds, we create our destiny. We create our own bodies. So, intelligent person, as Prabhupada says in the purport, is one who wants to be free from this prison life altogether. Because when we meditate on one type of material body, we get this type of material body. And these are many varieties, as we can see here, from demigods and to hobgoblins and demons and so on and so forth. So it's really important what we meditate on. And this is Krishna consciousness movement all about, to teach us what to meditate on. Yes. It is important to understand that this Krishna consciousness movement is not meant for some ritualistic purposes. Because when we become accustomed to something, we many times switch on autopilot. And this autopilot means that we do things superficially. And when we do things superficially, our mind is somewhere else, and we can check this in our japa, our mind. But it is important to be conscious of what we are doing. Therefore, Prabhupada named this movement as Krishna consciousness movement, not um, as ritualistic movement for uh, some rituals or even worship of Krishna. Because if our consciousness is not present when we worship Krishna, in fact we worship some other things. Maybe with our hands and mouth we worship Krishna, but in our heart we worship something else. We worship, I don't know, our wife, our husband, our children, um, or we try to get rid of something that is in the way of our worshipable things. Yes, so uh, and this is also explained by Krishna in Bhagavad-Gita. He said, Yam yam vapi smaram bhavan tyajantyanti kalivaram tam tam aveti kaunta sadatat bhava bhavitah. That whatever consciousness one has at the time of death, that state of being one certainly achieves. So it is crucial to what we meditate about. Yes. Of course, if we remember these pishachas or ghosts or something like this or something in Tamagun, we become like this. But if we remember Krishna, as Krishna explained just before this verse we mentioned, he said that we at once attain his nature, his spiritual nature, and that about this there is no doubt. And therefore he recommends Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mama nusmara yudhyacha mayarpita manobudir mama vaishasya samshaha. That therefore, tasmat means therefore, and therefore is used when something is said before and then there is a conclusion, and Krishna uses this conclusive statement, therefore, tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mama nusmara yudhyacha. Sarveshu kaleshu means at all times. Mama nusmara, remember me, think of me, be conscious of me. So this goes in line with Prabhupada's name of this movement, to be Krishna conscious. Yes. So Mama nusmara yudhyacha mayarpita mano buddhir mama vesashya samsha. So you should devote your mind and intelligence, your consciousness. Buddhi can be intelligence or consciousness to me. So your mind and your intelligence, your consciousness to me, and you will achieve me without any doubt. But of course we are accustomed to live in this material world from time immemorial, and so our mind was occupied with so many things in these unlimited lifetimes, and therefore even if we try many times, except if you are perfect living entity, we cannot always think of Krishna, and Krishna knows this, and therefore he explains in the next verse, Abhyasa yoga yuktana chetasana nikamina paramam purusham divyam yati partana chintayan. So if you cannot live in such a samadhi all the time, then the solution is to be engaged in abhyasa yoga. That means to do sadhana bhakti, in fact, to constantly be engaged in activities that we can remember Krishna all the time. Yes, so we practice. This is a training, in fact, like physical training. We train our mind in the same way as we can train our body to be accustomed to certain movements, or to endure certain things, so we can also train our mind, and this is called abhyasa yoga, to train our mind. um, and of course, if any one of you have trained your body, you know that the most important thing is um, to be regular, to um, do something regularly. So abhyasa, our meditation, our practice should be regular. Yes, and of course we should always engage our mind. Um, we shouldn't allow that our mind would go astray. And Krishna explains this in 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. If the mind goes astray, and this is the nature of the mind, we should just return it to our object of meditation. Yes. Even though Arjuna protested and he said that the mind is more obstinate than and it's more difficult to control than to control the raging wind. So Arjuna thought it's impossible to control the mind. But Krishna again explained, also in his reply, that it is certainly difficult to control the mind, but um, with practice and renunciation we can do it, and that without this controlling of the mind we can make no progress in our life. Yes, so it's very important to control our mind. Yes, and in the beginning of 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that the mind can be either our friend or our most terrible enemy. And yes, in fact, the mind is our only enemy. There is no other enemy than the mind. And it's interesting, even if we control our mind, and according to Krishna, it can become our friend. Narada Muni explains in 5th canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam that he says that Nityam dadati kamasya chidram tam anuyirayaha yogina krita maitrasya patyurjaiva pumshchali. That we should never trust the mind. That the mind is like, gives always rise to lust. Yes, it's interesting. Mind gives rise to lust all the time. And if one trusts the mind, one who tries to be to advance spiritually, if he trusts the mind, is he's the same as a husband of a prostitute who's definitely will be cheated. so we shouldn't be like a husband of a prostitute to trust the mind, but we should be always alert what our mind does. Yes, and one of the most deadly practices is wasting our time. If we waste our time, we will be deluded by our mind. Yes, because mind will find some engagement, certainly, and because there are so many different temptations in modern world, this is very easy for the mind to distract us. Yes. The most powerful distractors of course is social media.
YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and others. I don't know even the names of all of them. But yes, these are deadly distractors, actually. So if you want to have mind always engaged in Krishna consciousness, we should definitely devote our time in Krishna's service. Um, and therefore, Acharyas and Srila Prabhupada also many times um, emphasize that the wasting of time is most detrimental, because we cannot buy back uh, the time we it already passed. So and by our meditating on other things, we create different chitta vrittis, different impressions in our heart. And because we have these impressions, we can check when we chant our japa, we can check what kind of thoughts are coming to us. If these thoughts are connected with these different um, social media information, then we are definitely distracted by these things. Yes. So our japa is very good indicator what we are meditating upon, and why all these things are coming to our mind. Shastra explained that we are Ananda Mayobhya Sat. We are the living entities of happiness. We cannot live without happiness even for a moment. Therefore, uh, all our thoughts, all our words, and all our actions are in fact searching for happiness. Yes, searching for happiness. If we know it or not. Yes, because we are Ananda by Obhyasat. By nature we are Ananda. We want to be happy. So, and therefore we also engage ourselves in all different amusements just to be happy. But as long as we are conditioned, we don't know that we cannot be happy by material amusements, material enjoyment. And Krishna says that these material enjoyments, in fact, are the sources, very sources of misery. Yehi sansparsha bhoga dukkha yona evate adyantavantah kantena teshu ramati buddha. That those who are sane in their brain, they don't seek happiness in the pleasures of this world, because all pleasures of this world have uh, their beginning, adi, and anta, their end. So if we feel some pleasure, if we feel some enjoyment in this world, no one would like to that this enjoyment would end, because we want to be eternally happy. We don't want that our happiness would end. So if our enjoyment ends, and more we are attached to some enjoyment, to some kind of happiness, more we suffer. So Krishna says that this material happiness is gives birth to suffering, and therefore he explains that he is the only object of meditation, of happiness. Just few verses after this, he explains Bhoktaram yagya tapasan sarvaloka maheshwaram sukhridam sarvabhutanam gyatvam shantim richati. Yes, we can become happy or shanti, peaceful, only if we understand that Krishna is bhoktaram yaga tapasam. Krishna is the enjoyer of all sacrifices and of all austerities. And in fact, we all the time um, perform some sacrifice or austerity. Because what is sacrifice? Sacrifice is to give something to achieve something else, isn't it? For example, if there is a fire sacrifice, we put some libations into the fire with the desire to attain something, either spiritual or material. So, for example, you have sacrificed your time to come to this Srimad-Bhagavatam class, and this is your sacrifice now. But we all the time sacrifice something. If we want to achieve anything in this world, we have to sacrifice something. If we want to become a good student, we have to sacrifice also our time, and also we would maybe like to do other things, but we have to study. We have to sacrifice other things to our studies, and so on. So we should understand that the enjoyer of all sacrifices is only Krishna. So all our sacrifices should be meant for his pleasure. This is the only way to enjoy, to be happy. And then tapasa. Tapas means austerity. And austerity is to endure something unpleasant for the body or mind to achieve something. And we also do this all the time. For example, in Slovenian, I'm coming from Slovenia, Central Europe, we have the proverb that without toil we cannot put even the shoe on. So we do something all the time and endeavor for something all the time. And this endeavor, for example, you have to sit somewhere, or even if you lie down and listen to this class, you put some endeavor in it. And this endeavor is, of course, tapasya, is austerity. Because, for example, if we sit in certain position, or even if we lie down in certain position, we have to move after some time, because it becomes suffering if we don't move. And this is called this endeavor is called tapasya. So every endeavor, Krishna says, bhoktaram yagya tapasam, that are meant for Krishna's satisfaction. Yes, every endeavor. Then we can become happy. And then he explains Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. I'm the proprietor and the lord of all the different worlds. And these are not just worlds we see in the evening sky. There are stars, many stars, unlimited worlds. And we can say, yes, he's the lord of everything this. Yes, he is. But not only these outside worlds, he's also the lord of our inner worlds, of our inner thoughts, our desires, our how can I say, of every our emotions also. So also our inner worlds should be for his satisfaction. That means our emotions, our desires, our thoughts should be for his satisfaction. So if we have emotions which are like envy or or depression or something like this, or anger, um, uh, or lust, these are all against our mm, our interest, because these are not, we cannot satisfy Krishna with these emotions. So the solution is to connect with Krishna, also our emotions, our thoughts, and everything uh, about our subtle existence. Yes. Mm. But we should know. Someone maybe become afraid that Krishna is like a dictator, and he demands everything for himself, like a extremely selfish personality. Yes, but he's not. He explains Sukhridam Sarvabhutanam. I am the well-wisher of every living entity. Yes. So he explains this Bhagavad Gita and this verse also, and every verses in fact are emanations from himself, just to to direct our life to him, and that we can become Ananda Mayobhya Sat again. Yes. So this is the purpose of all Shastra, and this is the purpose also of these um, 4 verses that we have read today, because here it is explained that if we will not connect with Krishna in our thoughts, in our emotions, and in our words, in our actions, we will become something of these, either Kim Purushas or Vidyadharas or human beings or spirits or Pishachas or ghosts, according to our mood, according to our disposition, according to our gunas, to our modes of nature. Yes. Um, so don't meditate upon something material. Don't engage in these different um, social social platforms, because they are stealing our mind. They are stealing our time. They destroy our spiritual life. Yes, and as it is explained by our acharyas and Lord Chaitanya himself, in this age of Kali, it is no other way to achieve perfection than the chanting of the holy names. Harir Nama, Harir Namaiva Kevalam, Kalau Nastiva, Nastiva, Nastiva Katiranata. That in this age of Kali, there is no way, other way, there is no other way, there is no other way than chanting of the holy name, the chanting of the holy name, the chanting of the holy name. So Harir Nama means, Hari means the Lord, and Nama means the name. And this verse repeats this 3 times: Harir Nama, Harir Nama, Harir Namaiva Kevalam. And he emphasizes this with the word Eva. Eva means certainly. And if you can see that there are many times it's used, this word in different verses. It is used to support something very strongly. Certainly it's like this. Harir Nama, certainly Harir Nama. Namaiva Kevalam. Kevalam means only. And this also very strongly emphasizes something. So only, certainly only the holy name, the Harir Nama, and nothing else. And then he explains Kalau, that means in the age of Kali. Nastyeva. Asti means there is, and Nasti means there is not. Nastyeva, and again uses this word Eva. Certainly there is not. Nastyeva, certainly there is not. Nastyeva, certainly there is not. Gatir Anyata, other way. Yes. So very strongly supports and stresses this word. And it is interesting, if something is mentioned in Shastras once means it's very important. Otherwise, why would Vyasadeva put it in the Shastra? He didn't have some sort of quota to fulfill how much words he should write in Shastra. So if there is something mentioned once, it's very important. And if something is mentioned twice, it's even more important. It's very important. For example, there are half of verses mentioned twice in Bhagavad-Gita. Yes. So these verses are important. If some thought is repeated twice, it's really important. But if something is mentioned 3 times, is completely unavoidable. We cannot go around these statements. So, and we can see here in this verse, we have two things mentioned 3 times. Harir Nama, Harir Nama, Harir Nama. And emphasize it with Eva and Kevalam. And Kalau, Nastyeva, Nastyeva, Nastyeva. There is, certainly there is not, certainly there is not, certainly there is not. So we have 2 times, 3 times. So it's extremely important, and we cannot go around it, around this chanting of the holy name, chanting of the holy name, chanting of the holy name. So yes, it's extremely important to go deeply in chanting of the holy name, and especially recommended to chant in the time of Brahma Muhurta. That means an hour and a half before sunrise, to be completely absorbed in our chanting. And to be absorbed, it's certainly we should switch off the phone. The phone in modern world is the ultimate distractor. So we should switch off the phone, and no sound should come from the phone. Yes. And put the phone in another room and lock it. And we should just chant, and we shouldn't be distracted to nothing, really. So if you want to become absorbed with our consciousness, otherwise our consciousness will always be somewhere else, with some problems, or meditating about and on our enjoyments, because this karma, nityam dadati kamasya, as we explained, but that Narada Muni explains in 5th canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam, nityam dadati kamasya, that this mind is always give rise to our karma. This doesn't mean just lust for sex enjoyment, but of course it also means lust for sex enjoyment, but also means any type of lust for bodily pleasure, for bodily enjoyment. So this is lust, this is karma. Karma means desire for material sense enjoyment, bodily enjoyment. So we should know that this is our enemy. These thoughts are our enemy. Yes, and we should avoid them. We should avoid them. Yes, and we cannot avoid them if we don't get absorbed in our chanting. So our chanting is our, how can I say, safety belt. We are drowning in the ocean of material existence, so we need a safety belt, or to be pulled on the boat. Yes, and this boat is of course the chanting of the holy names. Otherwise, we'll just drown and be covered by these waves of material life and hopes of being happy. But these hopes are all in vain. Yes, you can never become happy in this way.
So I hope you have some questions that we can discuss something, and I would be really happy if I can see your faces also. Otherwise, it's just to speaking to some impersonal blob. So, do you have any question or comment or doubt, or you would like to share some realizations yourself?
So, Prabhu, I have one question based on the purport, first of all.
Yes.
Prabhupada said, all living entities are created by the Supreme Lord according to their past deeds.
Yes.
According to their past deed, they are created within the Brahma. So my question is, when somebody joins devotional service, this also according to his past deeds. And when most people leave devotional service, is it also still according to their past deed?
Sorry, I didn't quite catch.
When one become a devotee,
Yes.
we can say his or her good karma to be a devotee, past activities. And when one stops being a devotee, is it also their past deed that makes them to stop being a devotee?
We should understand that bhakti is a hetuki. That means without any cause. So we cannot, by performing material good deeds, become a devotee. Never. We cannot, by our good karma, become a devotee. So, therefore, the acharyas explain, especially Bhaktivinoda Thakur goes in depth about this, and he says that we can become a devotee by bhakti unmukhi sukriti. That means by some unknown devotional service that we performed in our past lives for many, many, many lifetimes. We have performed some unknown devotional service to, most probably, to the devotees or to Krishna in some way or another. So, and when, because we know from Bhagavad-Gita, Niha Bikrama Nashusti Pratyavayo Navidate Svalpama Pyasya Dharmasya Trayate Mahoto Bayat. That even if we perform a little bit of devotional service, that can save us from most dangerous fears. That means that these devotional acts are never lost. And when they're strong enough in our consciousness, because as we explained, everything we do creates a chitta vritti in our heart, our impressions, different impressions. And these bhakti impressions, they never go away. Other material impressions can go away, but not bhakti impressions. So these bhakti impressions, um, after they're accumulated after many many lifetimes, um, can become so strong that we accept the path of devotional service even consciously. Um, and if I understood your question, there is also why some devotees leave the path of devotional service. Was this the question?
Is it also part of their past?
Of course, these are tendencies to enjoy this material world is stored in our heart when we start devotional service. But as explained by Jiva Goswami, there are two types of faith, because we know from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that in the beginning there is faith. Shraddha is the first step of devotional service. But Jiva Goswami explains there are two kinds of faith. One is Shastriya Shraddha, the faith in Shastra, and the other types is Lokiki Shraddha, the general faith that usually people have around us. So Jiva Goswami explains that this Shastriya Shraddha is transcendental, and when we achieve Shastriya Shraddha, it will never go away. And it is confirmed many times in different kinds of scriptures, also with Srimad-Bhagavatam in 10th canto, that it is explained that ye nye ramidaksha vimukta maninas tvayasta bhavate vishuddha buddha haruhara krishna param padam tata patanti ato nadarita yushmatangraha. That these Mayavadis, for example, they can achieve very high position, but they will fall down because they don't take shelter of the Lord's lotus feet. But on the other hand, the devotees will never fall down. Yes, this is explained just after this verse. So these devotees will never fall down which have developed Shastriya Shraddha. But the devotees who don't have Shastriya Shraddha, who have Lokiki Shraddha, that means that they don't go deep into Shastra and just accept whatever they hear from the devotees undiscriminately. That means that their Shraddha is not transcendental, but it's material. And this type of Shraddha is not very firm. And so one can leave the path of devotional service. Therefore, Srimad-Bhagavatam in the beginning, in first canto, second chapter, explains Kamasya nindriya pritir labor jivita yavata jivasya tattva jigyasa nartoya shikha karmapi. That our life should be directed only to tattva jigyasa, to inquiring about absolute truth. So Shastra doesn't support spiritual laziness. Shastra demands to always inquire. This is also in Chatur Shloka, just the chapter before this we discussed today. It is explained that etavat eva jigyasan tatva jigyasunatmana anvaya vyatirikabhyam yat sarvatra sarvada. That we should inquire at all time, in every situation, and directly and indirectly about the absolute truth. And this is our path. This is explained our abhidaya tattva. That means our path to achieve our goal. So this tattva jigyasa is part of our spiritual practice, and we should not neglect it. Yes, so we should understand, and therefore Prabhupada wrote so many books, and he explained that the books are the basis. Yes, without this understanding, we cannot really be achieve the platform of Nishta, to be firm in our spiritual understandings, and therefore it's potentially dangerous to fall down.
Is there any other question or comment?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes.
Yeah, Dandavat Pranam. All glory to you, all glory to Guru Deva, and all glory to Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for your class. Yeah, during your deliberation, you made mention about how we should desist from endeavoring for material desire, endeavoring for material desire, because that is the only thing that will keep us away from Krishna. So my question is, for example, if two people are cooking, two people are cooking food. One says that the food is cooking is for is prashada, it's the Lord's mercy. Another person is cooking the same food, but that one it says it's material attachment. So what is the distinction? What is the measuring rod to distinguish the one that is for the Lord from the one that is for the person's own desire?
So, if I understand you correctly, what's the difference with two same kinds of food, but one is cooked for the Lord's pleasure and one is cooked for sense gratification?
Yeah. So I'm saying, yeah. So my question is, what do we use to determine that the one is for the Lord and one is not for the Lord?
So if the food is cooked for the Lord's pleasure, it's prasadam. And if it is cooked for sense gratification, it's boga. It's simple. But if both
So
cooks,
I understand that. So I say, if I come across two people cooking the same preparation,
and they're both devotees,
well, they can be devotees, they can be non-devotees. But what I'm saying is that two people are cooking, but we accept one as being one of the preparation as being that of for the Lord, and the other is for personal sense enjoyment. So the actual question I'm asking is, does it depend? Does it depend on the individual who is cooking that meal? Does it depend on that individual to determine whether one is prashadam or one is not, and one is not?
Yes, this is a very important question, because one may be even a devotee outwardly. He can wear kantimala, tilak on his forehead, but he meditates on how to prepare something for his own enjoyment. So, of course, if it is offered properly, Krishna accepts in some way, or accepts, or he doesn't accept, who knows. But if something is offered with devotion, Krishna explains in 9th chapter of Bhagavad-Gita, Patram pushpam palam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhakti upahritam ashnami prayatatmana. So one should offer everything and prepare everything with devotion. And then he says, even I eat this. So whatever we prepare, Lord is so enamored with our offering that he eats our offering, even if it's not food, for example. So, but in the next verse, he explains, Yat karoshi yat ashnas yat juhoshi dadas yat tapasasi konta tat kurushva madarpanam. So whatever you do, whatever you eat, or whatever austerity you perform, or whatever you give away or something, you do it as an offering to me. So there is a difference between these two verses. First, in first verse we explained, Krishna explains that this should be done with love, and then I will accept it. But in the next verse, he explains that you are doing whatever you do, in whatever consciousness you do, either for your personal sense gratification, or in whatever consciousness there is, you should at the end offer it to me. But he doesn't say that I will accept it. There is just the order, you offer it to me. By this offering process, of course, because we offer to the Lord and we meditate upon the Lord, we get purified. Yes, because the Lord is all pure, and any contact with the Lord um, is purifying for our consciousness. Yes, um, and therefore we should know that if the Lord, if we want that the Lord accepts something, we should be prepared with love and devotion, as it explained in the first of these two verses of the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Yes. So um, outwardly, usually we can taste the difference, because prasad tastes divinely. But something that is not prepared by devotees, even if they follow the recipe very diligently and very carefully, the taste is not the same. Maybe you have noticed that there's difference in the taste between something prepared by the devotees and something prepared by non-devotees. So every devotee, of course, should do anything with uh, Lord's pleasure in mind and as a goal. So, but just by looking on the food, maybe some Siddha Purusha, someone who is very advanced in devotional service, can tell the difference, but I don't know. I have no experience with this. Hare Krishna. Anything else?
Yeah, it's a follow up. The follow up of my question. The question I asked.
Yes.
For the follow up, I just wanted to, for clarification for the point between what is material and what is spiritual. Because at the end of the day, we know that every activity we are performing in this world emanated from the Lord. So where do we draw the line that this is spiritual and that is material?
Prabhupada explains very simply. The microphone he uses for Krishna Katha is spiritualized because it's used for Krishna's service. So whatever we do for Krishna's service, it's spiritual. Our consciousness is spiritual, endeavors are spiritual, the materials we use for serving Krishna become spiritualized. So everything connected with devotional service is spiritual, is spiritualized, even if it's from material elements. But everything that is used for personal sense gratification is material. And therefore, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains in 10th canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam that sadhaka has two kinds of body, and material and spiritual. So when we think of Krishna and perform devotional service, this, as much as we perform devotional service, as much our body is spiritual. And but as long as we are not perfect, we also engage our mind in thoughts of sense gratification, of material things, and we do material things without thinking of the Lord's pleasure. And as much as we do these material things, our body is also material. So yes, we have two kinds of body, spiritual and material. So whatever is used for Krishna's service is spiritual. So this, of course, we can We can understand by our thoughts what we do for Lord's pleasure. If this is our meditation, that we do something for Lord's pleasure, then this is spiritual, definitely spiritual. But if we do the same thing without meditation, this meditation, with the desire to achieve something pleasurable for ourselves, then this is material. Yes. So we should be careful that our meditation is always directed towards Krishna. This is my recommendation.
Is this satisfactory? It's okay?
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for your class.
Thank
Any
you.
other question, please? Anybody has question, kindly ask. If not, we close the class.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you. We would request everybody to kindly unmute yourselves and let's chant Hare Krishna mantra for Prabhu for coming.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you, Prabhu, so
Hare
much for the class. We hope to see you next time when you have time.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you
Thank
so
you very
much.
much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.